A closer look at the busy stretch of Route 28 from Centerville to Hyannis. The Renewable Energy Commission continues study on solid waste disposal options, and Barnstable High School students study Mandarin Chinese. These stories and more on this episode of Barnstable Today. It's Tuesday, March 18th, 2014. I'm Sarah Colvin. As the deadline to renew the contract with waste-to-energy company CMAS draws closer, the Renewable Energy Commission is continuing its work on solid waste disposal options. At Monday night's meeting, REC Chair Allison Alessi said she wants to take a look at how pay-as-you-throw systems work in larger towns like Plymouth.
Because I think it's a similar demographic to us, and they've just done pay-as-you-throw curbside with a choice to do pay-as-you-throw transfer station. And you talked to me about how this was an opportunity for them. They had 3 transfer stations, so they closed 2. So they probably had a lot of savings there. But I think because the town geographically is large and has some seasonal, I'm guessing, population, that would be an interesting case study since they just implemented it. I would like to know the numbers and the choices. A lot of things we heard about at these little civic association meetings is like, well, I still want to use, the transfer station. And I think the way that they implemented it, and I don't know very much about it, was that you had the choice. You could either do curbside or continue to use the one transfer station. So I thought that might be something we could look at.
The group will now put together a presentation on how Plymouth runs its pay-as-you-throw program to present to Town Council. Residents can now weigh in on a project that aims to improve the Route 28 Centerville-Hyannis corridor. The Cape Cod Commission kicked off project planning at a meeting with residents and local business owners Monday night. Stephen Tupper with the Cape Cod Commission says improving safety and reducing traffic accidents is a top priority.
Taking a preliminary look at some of the crashes along the corridor. The police department is great, and they have a nice big stack of papers on my desk, so I'm going through them right now. Over 200 crashes along this 2.5-mile corridor. Some of the highlighted areas are some of the high crash locations that we've seen. Certainly, you probably expect a lot of the signalized intersections. There's a lot of volume going through, so that's tough to process. We also see a lot of crashes related around the commercial area. Just east of Old Stage Road, there's a lot of curb cuts, a lot of ways that people are crossing. It's very confusing along that 4-lane section, so certainly a number of crashes there. And then the Lincoln Road intersection, not signalized, but there's a heavy traffic volume coming out of Lincoln Road, so we certainly want to address some of the crashes we're seeing at that location.
If you were unable to attend the meeting, you can still voice your opinion without leaving home. Improvements to the Route 28 corridor is one of 3 topics posted on our virtual town hall. Visit barnstableiforum.com to share your ideas. Well, French, Spanish, and German, typical language courses that are offered at local high schools, but Barnstable High School students have a chance to learn Mandarin Chinese. Channel 18's Sarah Mantle got to meet with students and instructor Bo Wu at Barnstable High School to learn about this unique program.
This year is just the 2nd year for the Mandarin Chinese program at Barnstable High School, and already nearly 100 students are enrolled. Instructor Bo Wu says that's a good sign.
Qing is love, okay? Another very, ancient China, people don't really say.
Going very well. The program students love it, and they're very passionate about it. It's very new and it's interesting.
Wu attributes much of the program's success to very involved administrators like World Language Department Head Grace Lytle, Principal Patrick Clark, and Superintendent Dr. Mary Shakowski.
They all promote the cultural awareness, and they're trying to bring this cultural integration and to make our students expose more to global culture, so our students in BHS can become a productive global citizen in the future, and they can become more competitive.
It seems that the focus on culture is exactly what is attracting students to the program.
I was never really much of a foreign language person, and then I heard Chinese, which I've always been kind of interested in Asian culture, and it was new, and I didn't really want to do like, Spanish or Latin or French because that's what like everybody did. And so I wanted to try out something new and I loved it like right off the bat.
Learning Mandarin Chinese is no easy task. At the same time students are learning to speak the language, they're also learning to write Mandarin Chinese characters. But that doesn't seem to be fazing students.
I think it's easier than like any language I've ever tried to learn because the way the grammar is, it's just like really simple and it all makes sense. And for past tense, you don't have to like change the word completely. You just kind of like stick a little character on the end. The characters can be kind of hard to learn, but a lot of them do look like what they're supposed to mean anyways, so that helps.
Of course, it's going to be challenging because they're not got used to, do you see the characters we're doing? But I think this is all, Chinese is, everybody has presume that Chinese is very difficult. However, the way how you make the kids engage, and I think that's the most important because, like the game we just did, it's like you can't stand in front of like the video I showed them. So you have to really relate it to American culture and compare them, and so kids will have this interest. As long as they keep interested, they will know more, and the more they learn, the more amazing stuff they find in Chinese language. Miss Lido told me kids don't fall in love with a certain language, they fall in love with the culture. So that's what I'm trying to emphasize in this class.
During class, Wu speaks very little English and uses what she calls the immersion method to help students really get a hold of the language. Wu also incorporates interactive games and videos to keep students engaged.
If you put a Weibo, that's Chinese Twitter, okay? Chinese Twitter. So
that's why the immersion environment is really important because we don't want them to only remember grammar. We don't want, because the thing is, you're going to forget about grammar. But there's something in your mind that just come out from your mouth naturally. That's something we want to be able to say, that their skills versus their knowledge. You can have previous knowledge, but knowledge, I think skills are much more important in that way.
If you just kind of study the textbook, then everyone kind of just spaces out the whole time. But if you're doing all these games and stuff, then you really get involved, and she really pushes you to learn the language like that. It's awesome.
And to keep that excitement in class going and give students a firsthand experience with Chinese culture, Wu organized a field trip to New York City.
We start thinking about, because we're trying to bring this authentic experience for students, but it's a little bit hard to find on the Cape. So New York City becomes one of our target. Then we took the kids to New York City. We toured Chinatown, so they get to read all the shop sign. They bargain in the vendors using Chinese, and they taste Chinese dim sum. They use chopsticks, and we saw so many things in museum. We saw so many things that we talk about in class, but at that time we didn't have experience. But after New York City, the kids actually felt that, they have a connection eventually with the Chinese culture because they see Chinese people all over on the street and they're talking.
Mandarin Chinese students may also benefit from a new venture. School officials are working to begin a student exchange program that would allow Chinese students to enroll at Barnstable High School for a year of study. Superintendent of Schools Dr. Mary Shakowski and Principal Pat Clark invited a delegation from a small town in China to tour Barnstable High School this month.
This was really an opportunity today for the Chinese delegation here to come and visit Barnstable, and for us to really showcase, our arts, our music programs, our science programs, and it's a great opportunity. And we have a diverse population here in Barnstable, and I think this would only enrich our population.
The idea of Barnstable High School being a launching pad to colleges and universities around New England and around the country, we're doing it for our own students, and the idea that we can do that for students from around the globe is not a stretch. And part of the tour later on will be a stop at our wall of our college acceptances. And I think whether you're a Barnstable resident or you're from Huide, China, it's an impressive list of technical schools and the community college and major universities right here in New England and around the whole country. So we certainly can offer that, and the Chinese folks are interested in that kind of launch from a school like BHS to the universities in our country.
Dr. Shakowski says the foreign exchange program could begin as early as next year. For Channel 18, I'm Sarah Mantle.
Thanks, Sarah. Be sure to tune in to Barnstable This Morning, our daily hour-long news program, live at 7 a.m. each weekday mornings here on Channel 18. On tomorrow's show, we get a business update with Cape Cod Chamber CEO Wendy Northcross. We'll chat with Finance Director Mark Milne and have all the news and information you need to get your day started off on the right foot. For Barnstable Today, I'm Sarah Colvin.